This week, I've been watching a multi-part docuseries on the rise and fall of a Black cult, and watching these women be systematically broken down, humiliated, and isolated in the name of love, disrespected and disregarded in the name of love has been tremendously hard for me in ways that I just wasn't expecting. And then I've also been considering the 8 Black women who were killed by their partners last month. And I've been sitting with both of those things together, the cult, the statistics, the stories, those Black women's pictures, and asking myself the same question over and over. How does a woman get so far away from herself that she just cannot find her way back? And I don't ask that question with any judgment. I ask it with my whole heart. Because even if you've never been sucked into a cult, you have lost yourself. Even if you've never been sucked into a cult, you have accepted less than you deserve in love. You've worked to earn love and attention and affection. And if this video just isn't for you, then sis, please share it with a sister that you know needs to hear it. And because I've been a sister who has once before felt like I lost myself and I was trying to find my way home to me, I know that it rarely happens all at once. Nobody ever wakes up one day and decides to abandon themselves. It happens slowly and quietly, and one small surrender at a time. You start to silence your voice, right? Once, because it isn't worth the argument. So this time I'm gonna just be quiet. And then you ignore your instincts once, because maybe this time I'm overreacting, and you start to shrink yourself once because this relationship feels more important than the mild discomfort that you may be feeling. And then once becomes a pattern, and a pattern becomes a way of living. And one day you look up and you don't recognize the woman in the mirror, and you can't remember exactly when she left. Anybody feel this way? Has anybody ever experienced losing themselves and not knowing where you lost her? Part of that is what happens when we don't truly know ourselves. When we've not done the work of building a relationship with who we actually are, our values, our needs, our limits, our longings, we become vulnerable to anyone who offers us a definition. Those women in that documentary were vulnerable for someone who was offering her a definition. Okay, maybe that's not you. Maybe that's not your story. What happens when you get caught up in the roles that you employ? When you don't remember who you are anymore, you don't remember what you like anymore because you've played the role of mother or wife or employee or manager for so long that when it's time to just be yourself, you don't know what that looks like anymore. What's my hobbies? What do I like? I don't know. I just take the kids where they gotta go. Oh, I don't know. I'm just helping him build the business. This is why self-knowledge is not a luxury, right? And this is also why self-love is not a trend. Both of those are our own protection. Both of those are a foundation which every other relationship, romantic, platonic, familial, in your life is either built on or broken down from. Now, some of you know that lately I've been writing and recording and sharing daily love letters to Black women, just showing up in your inbox or on your feed with a reminder that you are worthy, that you are enough, sis, that you don't have to do anything to deserve being loved. And I appreciate the women who let me know, oh my God, Dr. Mack, I needed to hear that today. And every time, though, that I write one of those letters, I think about how many of us who don't or won't actually believe that they are deserving of love, who don't or won't actually believe they don't have to earn it. Thinking about the women in the documentary, thinking about the 8 Black women killed by their partners last month in April, made me question what leads a woman to stay in a love that hurts her. And again, let me be very clear. I have stayed in a love that hurt me. I have stayed in loves that did not deserve me, that weren't worth my time and my energy. So again, I make no judgment. The real question is, what makes any of us believe that love is something we have to fight for, bleed for, prove ourselves worthy of? That's what I want to explore with you today. And if you're new to me, hey, how you doing, girl? My name is Dr. Sherelle MacArthur, otherwise and better known as Dr. Mack. I am an associate professor, an educational researcher, a wellness and life coach to Black women, an author, a speaker, a mommy. And just like you, I am in transition. Just like you, I am unlearning patterns, habits, ways of being that I've been socialized, and learning and finding myself again. And I think sometimes when we encounter mental health professionals, we believe that they have it all together. And that may be true for some, but that's not true for me. I still exist in this racialized gender. I still exist in this Black women body in this United States. So the same types of things that you experience, even with all my degrees and speaking engagements and publications and world travels, I experience so much of the same things. That's why I created this space, Black Women Becoming, because we're becoming together. And so let's talk about this idea of why we feel the need to prove ourselves worthy for love. Now I'm an 80s baby, okay? So 80s and 90s R&B will always be in my playlist. And when we listen to an old school kind of love, they used to sing about unconditional love. But do we ever really stop to think about the conditional love that many of us have received? And if we have thought about the conditional love that we receive, have we ever stopped to think about where that conditional love was introduced to us? Because for many of us, it was introduced to us far before we ever had a romantic partner. We learned by watching. We learned at home. We learned in classrooms. We learned in churches. We learned from watching primarily the women around us perform for their worthiness every day, just to be loved by the people who were supposed to love them unconditionally. Now, maybe that's not your story. Maybe you weren't raised by women and you watched your father. I absolutely have a friend raised by a father. And what she saw of him was him begging, pleading for love. That was still her model. That's still what taught her. Because when love is consistently tied to performance, meaning how well you behave, how little space you take up, how much you give, how unbothered you remain, your nervous system starts to wire itself around the belief, I have to earn this. Okay, this isn't going to come to me. This isn't going to stay with me. So I got to earn it. I got to fight for it. I got to beg for it. I got to plead for it. Right? And so when you see all of these attachment patterns up and down your timeline, what I'm discussing today might be aligned with the anxious attachment pattern. Right? And anxious attachment is what happens when love felt inconsistent growing up. When sometimes the people who were supposed to love you showed up and sometimes they didn't. Sometimes you were held and your feelings were honored, and sometimes you were dismissed, overlooked, neglected, or abandoned. And your nervous system had to figure out how to survive in that unpredictability, how to survive in that instability. So it developed a strategy. What? Right? I stay alert. I stay hypervigilant. I stay close by. I don't let them get too far away. And then we fast forward to adulthood, and that same strategy is still running in your nervous system. And in your relationships, it can show up as needing constant reassurance that you're loved, reading into silences and slow text responses. I text him at 7. It's now 8:04. What's taking him so long? He doesn't have that busy of a shift, right? Listening to the shifts in someone's tone. Am I bothering you? What's wrong? What's going on? Working hard to keep the connection even at the expense of yourself. Have you ever worked hard to keep a connection even at the expense of yourself? I have worked hard to keep a connection even at the expense of myself. And what happens when you're holding on to a relationship by a piece of thread? Well, where's the rest of the fabric? Where's the rest of the yarn? Because this is all I got. And let's be very clear, this isn't just romantic relationships. This happens in our platonic relationships. I hear a lot when I'm talking and working with my clients. I'm hearing a lot about platonic relationships. Not always feeling a part of the group in the circle, or did I do something wrong in the way that they stay hyper vigilant in those relationships? This also applies to familial relationships, your relationship with your siblings, your relationship with your parents or your cousins. This isn't a conversation about the love of your life exclusively, but I also need to be clear that that anxious attachment is not a neediness or a weakness, even though it appears that way. It is a nervous system that learned to love in an unstable environment and never got the memo that safety was possible. And more than that, more than simply trying to figure out your attachment style. And if you're trying to figure out your attachment style, please do so with the help of a therapist. I think a lot of people are out here trying to diagnose themselves, and that's simply not necessary. So if you need some resources, you can let me know that in the chat, and I will share some spaces for you to be able to find a therapist. But what I need you to know and understand is that an anxious attachment is a wound. It's a wound that teaches you that love is transactional and that you are the transaction. And what a wound does is that it makes you extraordinarily patient with people who don't deserve your patience. Because waiting and giving and hoping feel like love. They feel like you doing your part. Have you ever been far more patient than you needed to be, giving chance after chance after chance, hoping that this next time will be better? You know what else a wound does? A wound makes you normalize what should never be normal, like being extraordinarily patient. It normalizes things like, when they go silent or they ghost. And it's just like, oh, this just feels like peace. Or when they put a distance between you, that should concern you. It starts to just feel like space. Or a love that is barely there starts to feel like enough. Why? Because you're trying to rationalize what's happening. You're trying to rationalize the love experience that you are currently within. So this silence isn't a problem. It's peace. This distance isn't a problem. This is just space. This thread of love, oh yeah, that's enough. You know why? Because a lot of us tell ourselves that we are low maintenance. I don't require a lot. And that may be true for some, certainly. But for some of us, do we say that we are low maintenance because we were never given enough? So we learned to just accept what little was thrown our way. Hey man, I'm low maintenance. I don't require a lot. That's because a lot was never given to you. So you have now normalized the little. We've normalized inconsistency. We've normalized the pattern of in and out, up and down, toxic. And you know what else that wound does? That wound teaches you to mistake drought for desert. You know what a drought is? A drought happens in a space that requires water and there is none. And so then we say there's a drought, right? I live in Atlanta. South Georgia has been having a drought, which means they require water, but it hasn't been raining and now we're concerned. A drought is very different from a desert because a desert doesn't require water. And so you start to mistake a drought for a desert, meaning you stop requiring water. You stop expecting it. You stop remembering what it felt to feel hydrated. Has anybody ever been there? Just, if I'm stepping on your feet, put the feet emoji in the chat, okay? Here's another thing the wound does. Not only does it make you extraordinarily patient with people who don't deserve your patience, it also makes you extraordinarily loyal to people who are not loyal to you. So you stay and you explain and you try again and again and again and again, because somewhere inside you, you believe that if you just love them better, finally they'll love you back. Whew. Listen, sometimes I step on my own toes. I've been there. If I just love him better, and you don't have to be a him, it could be a her, it could be a they. If I just love them better, maybe they'll just love me back. Maybe if I prove how good I could love, how hard I love, how much I don't even really require in return. Can you just return my call? Can you just show up? And again, this doesn't even have to be a romantic partner. Maybe this is a relationship with one of your parents. But I'm a good girl. I got good grades. I did everything right. I checked all the boxes. I got out of high school. I got the degree. When will they just see me? Why won't they just call me? Maybe it's the friendships. Man, I'm at every one of their kids' things. I show up for every track meet, every band recital. I'm there for the kindergarten graduation, the 8th grade graduation, but why don't they see when I need for somebody to show up for me? Yeah. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Love crosses the gamut of romantic, platonic, familial. And that wound becomes our pattern of what we're willing to accept, what we're willing to normalize, because what we have received has never been stable, consistent, or healthy. And so that wound teaches us to negotiate for what should be freely given. We learn to ask for less. We learn to need less. We learn to be less. All so we can stay in the proximity of something that was never fully ours to begin with. We have been so conditioned to celebrate the endurance of love rather than the experience of it that we have confused suffering with devotion. Struggle Love didn't come from nowhere. When Jaheim put out that doggone, I kind of missed that Struggle Love song. I hated it. And I don't think that I had the real language for it at the time. I was a young adult. I don't think I had the language for why I hated the Struggle Love song, but God knows I hated that. I'm like, what is this to glorify? I don't want no struggle love. And at that time, I hadn't gone through a love that hurt. And once I went through that love, I said, yeah, I know damn sure I don't want no struggle love. But the idea of struggle love didn't come from nowhere. It came from a world that has never, ever, ever made it easy for Black women to simply be. Let us be. It came from a world that has never made it easy for Black women to just simply be without earning or proving or justifying our existence. And when you've had to fight for everything, when you feel like you've had to get everything out the mud, then love starts to feel like something that should be hard too. Love starts to feel like something that has to come from the mud because everything else did. And that makes it as though ease isn't real. And I think I'm going to talk about that next week. I think next week I'm going to talk about what happens when you encounter a love that you don't have to struggle, fuss, fight over. What happens when you encounter that love? Does the piece of it feel too chaotic because you're used to chaos? Woo! I'm going to have to run this tape back so I can write that down, start thinking through my thoughts on that. But if you want to hear that, that's where I'm at right now. I got a wonderful person. I'm in a great friendships, but this piece feels chaotic. Let me know that. Let me know that so I make sure that I record that video for next week. I need you to know, whether I get to that video or not, I need you to know that ease is not a red flag. You can be in a friendship with a Black woman and not have to fuss or fight. Sisterhood sustains me. Sisterhood sustains me. If you're a Black woman watching this video, that is a sisterhood that is sustaining me. That is a sisterhood that is giving me a view. If you share this video, that is a sisterhood that is expanding my brand, ensuring that this content reaches Black women who need to hear it. That's sisterhood. And it really hurts my heart when I hear Black women who say they have never been able to have a positive relationship with another Black woman. That's not an experience that I know. Ease is what love is supposed to feel like. I need you to know that. And I also need you to know, if you've self-diagnosed as anxious attachment, that anxious attachment is healable. Secure love can be learned through therapy, through consistent relationships, through the kind of deep inner work that asks you to believe, and maybe for the first time, that you are safe, that you are worthy, and not because you earned it, but just because you are. That's the kind of deep inner work that I'm doing in this space with you right now. That's the kind of deep inner work that I'm doing in any of my other videos. So if I'm new to you, hey man, hit my channel up. Watch something else. You know, I'm not here in this space for me. And maybe I'll come back another day and talk about my story in regards to, you know, really why I'm here. But I'm not in this space for me. I didn't call myself to this work. I honestly was running from it for a while. God, please don't ask me to keep showing up for people, teaching and coaching. And that was before I was a coach. The kind of people God brought across my path in the most divine ways in which He had me pouring life into them. So it was before I said, okay, God, if I'm going to do it, let me do it right. I went and got certified as a life coach. Listen, I'm not here for me. I don't know who's going to see this video. I might come back to this and see 20 people have seen it, and that's the only 20 people who needed to hear it. I might see 20,000 people saw it, and those are 20,000 people who needed to hear it. I don't know. Only God knows. But I'm telling you together, I'm here and I'm committed. I'm here and I'm committed to Black women. So I hope that you stay. I hope you follow, subscribe, talk to me, drop it in the comments. I want to hear from you. I want to do this thing together. And I need you to hear Dr. Mack say again to you very clearly, Black woman, you are worthy. And not because you earned it. You didn't do anything to deserve it. You never had to. You are worthy of love just because you are. You were not put on this earth to audition for affection. If you've watched that docuseries, all that fighting the women and going live and belittling other people and singing his praises, those were auditions for affection. You ain't got to step on nobody's stage. You weren't designed to shrink yourself to fit into somebody else's comfort zone, and you don't have to hurt to prove that you love hard. So what I'm going to continue to do for this month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month, is to write those daily love letters. If you haven't seen them, check them out. Because I believe that Black women deserve to be reminded, not once, not on special occasions, but every single day. And so right now, this love letter to you says you do not have to earn love, and you never did. Now, before I go, speaking about inner work, I'm going to leave you with a few questions. So grab your journal, take some time to sit with these. There was a sister who let me know last week that she watched my video and she had been sitting with the questions that I pose. Remember, not only am I a wellness and life coach, I'm an educator. And so I pair and marry those two things to me beautifully with my clients. And so one thing that I offer is love work, which is homework rooted in love. Now, you don't ever have to tell me the answers to your homework if you don't want to. But it does give you the ways and the space to reflect on what I'm saying. Oh my gosh, she done stepped on all my toes. I need a moment to go process. And then I want to come back and sit with these questions. So if you don't have the ability to write right now, just look at the timestamp. Where are we in the video? You can come back to it and sit with these. And if you want to share, right? So here are your questions. There are 4 of them. First question. Where did you first learn that love had to be earned? What did that look like, and whose voice taught that to you? Let me restate the question in a way that you ask it to yourself. Okay. Where did I first learn that love had to be earned? What did that look like, and whose voice taught me that? Now, when Dr. Max says voice, I don't necessarily mean somebody said it to you explicitly. I mean, what was your model? What was your example? So I just finished writing my first book, yay! And it's currently with an editor, and I'm waiting to hear back. But in said book, I talk about where I learned or whose voice taught me that love had to be earned. That's not the topic or the focal point of the book, but in my discussion of Black women's well-being and our collective right to be well, I talk about ways that I was unwell. And one of those ways was in my demonstration in relationships of believing that I needed to earn love, and I recognize the root. Okay, so that's question 1. I want you to explore that for yourself. Question 2 is, in what ways have I been auditioning for love in my relationships, romantic, platonic, or familial, instead of simply receiving it? In what ways have I been auditioning for love in my relationships of any type instead of simply receiving it? Question 3. What would it feel like to be loved without conditions? Does that love feel safe, or does it feel scary? And what does my answer tell me about myself? So let's go back to that peace and chaotic that I mentioned a little while ago. If you are from a big city, for example, let's say you're from New York City, you used to hearing the cars riding on the street at any time of the night, bass bumping, you used to hearing cars honk, people, cussing and fussing, talking downstairs on the street below, the city that never sleeps, right? And then you pack up and you move down south. I live in Atlanta. You move down south, and at night, all you hear is crickets. Now, you may have gotten tired of the noise up top, but when you come down bottom, the quiet feels too loud. What this question is asking you is that if you had a love, if you were in a love that did not have conditions, would that feel safe, or would that quiet feel loud to you? And what does that answer? Oh, I feel safe. Or, ooh, that might be hard. Or maybe that's where I'm at right now. What does that tell you about yourself that it feels safe or scary? Last question. What kind of love do I actually want? And am I willing to believe that I deserve it? Sis, what kind of love do you want? Now, we done all written down the kind of love, the kind of man or woman or whomever that we're looking for. And we say, God, I need it to be this height and this, that, and make this kind of money, do. But if it showed up in front of you today, would you be willing to believe that you deserved it? Because if you don't believe that you deserve it, sis, you're going to sabotage it. Conversation for another day. Drop it in the chat if you want me to make a video on that. And also drop your reflections in the comments. I want to hear from you. Subscribe for more content that is created by a sister like you, for sisters like you. And then share this video with every sister you know. Because who knows who's masking at any given time? We think about those 8 Black women who were killed by their partners last month. Maybe there were friends around them that thought they had the perfect marriage. Who would know? We don't always know. So share this with every Black woman you see. Sis, I will see you next time. And I'm going to see you in these comments, because I think you just promised me that you was going to comment. I want to hear from you. Don't make me talk to myself. Okay. Take care of yourself, sis. Not because you have to earn it, but because you already deserve to be taken care of and to be taken care of by you. And remember that you are never alone. You are never alone, sis, even when it feels that way, because we are Black women becoming together.